The price of a Shanghai license plate continues to drop as fewer people want one this month. Lots of people want live and chilled chickens now that they are back on sale here again. And a former NSA contractor now faces criminal charges in the United States and may face extradition from Hong Kong. Good evening and welcome to this weekend edition of Shanghai Live, and I'm your host, Zhang Jieying. Car plate prices in Shanghai have gone down for the third month in a row to the lowest since the city set a limit on opening bids in April. The lowest winning price at this morning's monthly auction was below 80,000 yuan. Song Wenjing tells us more.
The opening bids were limited to 77,300 yuan this month, which meant people could not offer more than that in the first round. Less than 20 minutes after the auction started, the lowest successful bid had already reached that amount. The lowest price remained unchanged until the last minutes of the second round, and then only went up by 300 yuan. The lowest successful bid was 77,600 yuan, more than 3,000 yuan cheaper than last month. The average winning bid was also more than 209,000 yuan cheaper than in May. One car salesman said that while the price was down, the plates were harder to get because of the last-minute competition.
Some of our customers have failed to get a car license plate for 5 consecutive rounds. The result is likely to be affected by factors like internet speed and luck.
Although more than 21,000 bidders were competing for 9,000 license plates this morning, there were 700 fewer people than last month. Song Jing, Shanghai Live.
Today is the first weekend of live poultry sales in Shanghai after a 2-month ban was lifted, and vendors report brisk business for both live and chilled chicken. And pigeons are flying around People's Square again now that the bird flu scare is over. Zhang Ningben has more.
By 9 a.m., the morning crush at this Changning district wet market is usually over. But because it's the only place in downtown Shanghai allowed to sell live poultry, the butcher shop was still crowded. The market manager says people began lining up to buy live poultry at 5:30 a.m.
We've already sold 400 chickens just this morning.
I've waited for 20 minutes to buy live chicken. But the boom in sales of live chicken did not affect the popularity of chilled chicken. At a counter in Xuhui district, more than 100 chilled chickens had been sold by 8:30 a.m.
I prefer chilled chicken because its guts have already been taken out, which is clean and convenient.
Meanwhile, visitors to People's Square today were able to see pigeons flying over the area once again. Managers say the birds will be disinfected once a week as they had been before the bird flu outbreak. They had been kept in their cages for more than 2 months. Zhang Ningben, Shanghai Live.
The seasonal temperature rise is spurring growth of azolla plants in the city's suburban waterways, something that happens every year. The plants, also known as duckweed, are already reaching the upper reaches of the Huangpu River in suburban Jingshan district. Song Wenjing reports workers there have already removed more than 26,000 tons of the plants.
The firms now cover about 1/3 of the upper reaches of the Huangpu River. They quickly absorb oxygen in the water, which kills marine life and adds to pollution. To cope with that problem, city workers have established several cleanup areas, and 4 cleanup boats are working non-stop on that part of the river.
We have around 1,500 people working on the river every day. We worked from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. almost non-stop.
Officials say the azolla firms may continue to grow throughout the plum rain season. Workers plan to monitor them in 14 key areas, and authorities in Jingshan say they will be cleaned up based on the river current. Song Wenjing, Shanghai Live.
Now let's take a look at some other news around Shanghai and China, including the death of 2 abandoned girls and a possible manager change for the Chinese national football team. Police in suburban Jiading district say a woman in her 60s was killed when a trolley full of drinks fell on her on a supermarket escalator. Store staff members say another woman had insisted on using her own trolley to carry 15 boxes of beverages she has just bought. They say she asked 2 store cleaners to help her push the trolley onto the escalator. The cart then slipped back on the older woman and killed her. Police are holding the 2 cleaners as they continue investigating. Police in Nanjing are holding the mother of 2 little girls whose decaying bodies were found at their home in the capital of eastern China's Jiangsu province. Police say the girls had been left on their own because their father was jailed earlier this year, and the mother is a drug addict. Neighbors say the girl's mother is very irresponsible and didn't always feed them. The mother could face murder charges. Authorities in Shenyang, in northeastern China, have shut down an unlicensed factory that they say was making substandard salted duck eggs and preserved eggs. Local officials say the factory had no approval to make egg products and are trying to determine where 10 tons of eggs were distributed. They say the factory may have been using a false address and are detaining the owner. China's National Audit Office says more than 340 companies lied when claiming energy-saving subsidies of more than 1.6 billion yuan. 2 local joint venture automakers, Shanghai GM and Shanghai Volkswagen, have reportedly claimed subsidies of more than 17 million yuan for vehicles that don't meet the standards. But the Shanghai companies say they returned the money to the city's finance bureau in March and notified the auditors in Beijing. And China's sports authorities are reportedly negotiating an early end to the contract of national football team manager Jose Antonio Camacho. Thailand's 5-1 defeat of China in a friendly game last week was the latest in a long line of humiliations for Chinese football. Many football fans have called for Camacho to be fired. He signed a reported $8 million a year contract in 2011. And it would reportedly cost more than $9 million to buy him out. U.S. prosecutors have reportedly asked Hong Kong authorities to detain former U.S. government intelligence contractor Edward Snowden after charging him with espionage, theft and conversion of government property. Snowden has disclosed documents to 2 newspapers showing that the U.S. National Security Agency collects Americans' phone records and internet data from U.S. communications companies. Mark Leff has more.
A 1-page criminal complaint unsealed yesterday in a U.S. federal court says Snowden engaged in what it calls unauthorized communication of national defense information and willful communication of classified communications intelligence information. Both are violations of the U.S. Espionage Act. Snowden is also charged with theft of government property. Conviction on all charges could bring a sentence of up to 30 years in prison. It's believed Snowden is still in Hong Kong, which could complicate efforts to bring him to a federal court in the United States to answer the charges. There's been no confirmation of any formal request to send him back, and Hong Kong's police commissioner isn't saying much about the case.
According to Hong Kong's current system, if a jurisdiction that has signed a mutual legal assistance treaty has issued a request, then the Hong Kong government will treat it in accordance with current Hong Kong laws and systems.
Hong Kong and the United States have had an extradition treaty since 1998. But if Snowden were to fight extradition by claiming political persecution, lawyers say the process could take years. Mark Leff, Shanghai Live.
U.S. President Barack Obama has nominated James Comey to be the new FBI director. Comey will replace Robert Mueller and serve a 10-year term if the U.S. Senate confirms his nomination. When he worked at the U.S. Justice Department under Republican President George W. Bush, he gained attention for blocking White House efforts to reauthorize the no-warrant wiretapping program in 2004. He and Mueller threatened to resign. Obama calls Comey a model of fierce independence and deep integrity. The confirmed death toll from monsoon floods that hit northern India near the Tibet border last weekend is nearing 600, and hundreds more are reported missing after the heavy rain triggered landslides and washed away several towns and roads. Government officials say they expect more bodies will be recovered from the slush and mud. India's military is helping rescue about 50,000 stranded people. Some 17 foreign tourists are among those airlifted to safety this morning. India's government has announced a $170 million relief package for the state of Uttarakhand. India's monsoon season normally runs from the end of June through September. But this year's rains arrived 2 weeks early and are heaviest in 60 years. More rain is expected over the next 2 days. And that's all for today's edition of Shanghai Live. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.